In our previous episode, a bullet shattered the silence of a Dutch corridor. William the Silent fell, and Europe entered the age of gunfire politics. It was the first time a firearm rewrote history. But today, we leave the corridors of Delft. We leave the age of swords and pistols, and we enter the drone age. January 3rd, 2020. Baghdad. A convoy rolls slowly out of the airport. Inside one of the cars, General Qasem Soleimani, commander of Iran's Quds Force, architect of proxy wars, and the man with a $15 million bounty on his head placed by the United States. He had survived battlefields. He had outlived sanctions. He had walked through war zones untouched. But that night, the sky was watching. A U.S. drone locked on, coordinates confirmed, and in seconds, Hellfire missiles tore the convoy apart. No warning, no trial, just fire, metal, and silence. This wasn't just a killing. It was a message, a rupture, a moment when diplomacy died mid-air. Welcome aboard the red pages of history. Tonight we travel through smoke, strategy, and shattered alliances. You're not just watching, you're inside the convoy. He was born in a poor village near Kerman, southeastern Iran. Qasem Soleimani, son of a farmer, a construction worker in his teens, and later, one of the most powerful men in the Middle East. After the 1979 revolution, he joined the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. During the brutal Iran-Iraq War, he rose through the ranks, commanding battalions of volunteers. He was wounded, decorated, and respected. By 1998, he was appointed commander of the Quds Force, the IRGC's elite unit responsible for foreign operations, covert missions, and regional influence. And that's where the legend began. His operations and controversies in Iraq. After the fall of Saddam Hussein, Soleimani built a network of Shiite militias, including Kataib Hezbollah and Asaib al-Haq. These groups were accused of attacking U.S. troops, suppressing Iraqi protests, and deepening sectarian divides. In Syria, during the civil war, Soleimani personally flew to Damascus. He coordinated with Russia and helped save Bashar al-Assad's regime. Thousands of fighters from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, and Lebanon were deployed under his command, known as Liwa Fatemiyun and Zainabiyun Brigade. In Lebanon, he was a key backer of Hezbollah, providing funding, training, and strategic guidance. Israeli officials claimed his strategies tightened the noose around their borders. In Yemen, through support for the Houthis, Soleimani helped push the conflict into Saudi territory. Missiles, drones, and military advisors all traced back to the Quds Force. Inside Iran, he was one of the signatories of a threatening letter to the president during the 1999 and 2009 protests, warning that the IRGC would intervene if unrest continued. In the 2018 and 2019 protests, his posters were burned in the streets, a symbol of public anger toward Iran's foreign entanglements. In Afghanistan, in the 1990s, he supported the Northern Alliance against the Taliban. But later, as regional dynamics shifted, his relationship with the Taliban became more complex, a dual legacy. To some, he was a hero of resistance, the man who pushed back ISIS, defended Shiite communities, and outmaneuvered Western influence. To others, he was the architect of chaos, responsible for thousands of civilian deaths, proxy wars, and destabilization across the region. He didn't speak much in public, but his presence was felt everywhere, from the streets of Baghdad to the hills of Aleppo, from the alleys of Beirut to the deserts of Yemen. And that presence made him a target. January 3rd, 2020, Baghdad International Airport. The night was quiet. The air hung heavy with humidity and tension. A convoy of SUVs rolled slowly out of the VIP terminal, headlights cutting through the darkness, tires humming over the tarmac. Inside the lead vehicle sat Qasem Soleimani, just arrived from Damascus. Next to him, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, deputy commander of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces. They weren't hiding, they weren't armed, they believed they were safe, but above them, in the sky, a US MQ-9 Reaper drone was locked in. Coordinates confirmed. Target acquired. At 1 a.m., the order was given. The drone fired Hellfire missiles designed for precision, but built for destruction. The first missile struck the lead SUV. Impact, explosion, fire. The vehicle didn't just burn, it disintegrated. Metal twisted. Glass shattered, flames erupted, painting the night orange. The second missile hit the trailing car. Another blast, another fireball. The convoy was reduced to charred wreckage in seconds. Security forces rushed to the scene. What they found wasn't a car crash. It was a surgical strike, brutal, calculated, and unmistakable. Bodies were unrecognizable, limbs separated, clothing incinerated. But one detail stood out: a hand, charred but intact, lying outside the wreckage, wearing a distinctive ring, red stone, silver band. It was Soleimani's ring, the same one seen in countless photos, the same one worn in meetings with presidents, warlords, and commanders. That hand became the proof of death, a symbol, a relic, and, for many, a moment of disbelief. The strike was so precise, so sudden, that no warning was given. No sirens, no confrontation, just fire from the sky. The aftermath was immediate. Iran confirmed the death within hours. Millions poured into the streets for his funeral. The region braced for retaliation. But in that moment, on that tarmac, the world watched as one of the most powerful men in the Middle East was reduced to fragments. Not in a battlefield, not in a war zone, but in a diplomatic visit, in a car, on a quiet night. The fire on the tarmac had barely cooled when the world began to shake. Iran confirmed Soleimani's death within hours. The streets of Tehran, Mashhad, and Qom flooded with mourners. Millions marched, black flags rose, and chants of revenge echoed across the region. But this wasn't just grief, it was a declaration. On January 8th, just 5 days after the strike, Iran launched ballistic missiles at 2 U.S. bases in Iraq, Al-Assad and Erbil. No American soldiers were killed, but over 100 suffered traumatic brain injuries. It was the first direct military attack by Iran on U.S. forces in decades. The message was clear. Soleimani's death would not go unanswered. Global impact. Iraq's parliament voted to expel U.S. troops. The strike had violated Iraqi sovereignty, and tensions soared. Iran suspended parts of the nuclear deal. The region braced for escalation. Proxy groups across Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen vowed retaliation. Embassies fortified. Airports tightened security. The Middle East held its breath. But beyond the missiles and speeches, something deeper had shifted. Soleimani wasn't just a general, he was a strategist, a symbol, a man who operated in shadows but shaped the daylight. His death created a vacuum, one that no successor could fully fill. And, for the United States, the strike was a gamble. Remove a threat, but risk a war. History will debate whether it was justice or provocation. But one thing is certain. The night Qasem Soleimani died, the rules of engagement changed. Drones replaced diplomacy, and the sky became a battlefield. If this story gripped you, if you believe history isn't just about what happened, but why it happened, then subscribe to the Red Pages of History, because behind every convoy, behind every ring, there's a decision, and behind every decision, a consequence. We're here to uncover them all.